The game is on.
Oh, come on. Surely you've all seen the present at the top of the bag.
Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 genius scenes in Sherlock. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking specifically at the cleverest and most ingenious scenes from the popular BBC show, demonstrating the sheer power of Sherlock's mind and his amazing deductions. So grab your deerstalker, let's unlock the Mind Palace. Number 10, capturing Smith's confession. The lying detective.
Once more for luck.
I don't want to say. I don't.
Introduced in Series 4, Toby Jones's Culverton Smith cuts a shifty and suspicious kind of character from the off, despite his philanthropic and entrepreneurial reputation. And it didn't take Sherlock long to twig Smith's true villainy, capturing his confession with a perfectly laid trap.
Killing human beings. It just makes me incredibly happy.
Thanks to Watson's predictable nature and a cleverly planted recording device in his walking stick, Smith incriminates himself beyond dispute. Of course, much hinges on John arriving to save Sherlock so that the confession can be released, but that was never in doubt either.
Mr. Holmes, you okay?
What were you doing?
Number 9, meeting Kitty Riley. The Reichenbach Fall.
You're him.
First impressions are everything, and Sherlock knows that better than most. Here he runs into a supposed superfan, but he immediately works out the ruse. Kitty Riley's in fact a journalist, looking for the latest scoop on one of the UK's most elusive characters.
Bit of a giveaway.
Smudge is deliberate to see if I'm as good as they say I am.
Of course, Sherlock never takes too kindly to the press, and he promptly puts Riley in her place, with some typically astute comments on her look and demeanour. The whole scene sizzles with intensity, as each tries to outplay the other, but there's only one winner here.
I'll give you a quote if you like. 3 little words. You repel me.
Number 8, Van Coon's murder. The blind banker.
Do you want me to buzz you in?
Yeah, and can I use your balcony?
What?
After a break-in at a bank where all the assailants did was leave graffiti on a painting, Sherlock's asked to investigate, and the trail soon leads him to break into Edward Van Coon's flat, where he finds Van Coon dead. Watson and the rest of the police rule suicide, until Sherlock deduces otherwise.
Oh, good, you follow.
Nope.
The super sleuth explains how Van Coon's apparent obvious left-handedness makes it very unlikely that he shot himself, rattling through a list of simple but brilliant observations to back up his theory. And there's some trademark sarcasm just for good measure.
Do you want me to go on?
No, I think you've covered it.
I might as well. I'm almost at the bottom of the list. There's a knife on the breadboard with butter on the right side of the blade.
Number 7, London Maps. A study in pink.
Left turn only, traffic lights.
Sherlock's got one hell of a memory on top of everything else, which he uses to solve this case in the show's first ever episode. Chasing a taxi through the streets of London, with Watson just about keeping up, he employs a photographic knowledge of the city, including the latest roadworks and diversions, to eventually catch his target. The scene does leave one question unanswered though. Why does Holmes use cabs as frequently as he does if he can travel just as quickly on foot? Seems like a waste of fare money.
Sorry, are you guys the police?
Yeah. Everything all right?
Number 6, I Am Sherlocked. A scandal in Belgravia.
Jim Moriarty sends his love.
Yes, he's been in touch.
We're picking apart passwords next, as Sherlock's faced with the 4-digit code to Irene Adler's infamous phone. And with apparently endless combinations in front of him, we spend the entire episode trying to figure out what it is.
Nicely played.
No.
Sorry?
I said no.
As usual, the actual solution is so painfully simple that we're kicking ourselves for not realizing it sooner, as Sherlock's thrown into an unexpectedly emotional exchange.
I've always assumed that love is a dangerous disadvantage. Thank you for the final proof.
The I Am Sherlocked line quickly became a mantra for the show, and understandably so. Number 5, Sherlock gets shot. His last vow. Sherlock's no stranger to injury, but he usually escapes fairly unscathed, until Mary shows up, that is. Just as we find out Mary isn't all she claims to be, she goes and shoots our gifted detective. But things are never simple in this show, not even point-blank bullet wounds.
If the bullet had passed through you, what would you have heard?
The mirror shattering.
You didn't, therefore.
The bullet's still inside me.
Time seems to stop and Sherlock has seconds to determine how to fall to reduce the damage done. An ultra-intense moment with viewers begging him to think fast. Holmes' ability to make the right call was never really in doubt, was it? Number 4, the Mind Palace. The Hounds of Baskerville.
Something buried deep. Get out.
Seeming like an ultra-logic superpower, Holmes' Mind Palace stores all of his memories and every piece of seemingly pointless information he's ever encountered. Quite unbelievably, it's actually a legitimate memory technique, although Sherlock's is much bigger, more effective, and more extravagant than anyone else's could ever be, naturally. Tapping the palace for this scene, it takes him mere seconds to solve a huge piece of the Hounds of Baskerville mystery, shining light on significant details his brilliant brain has always had access to.
Hound.
He just needs to cut through the chaos. Number 3, Meeting Watson. A Study in Pink.
You're the second person to say that to me today.
Who's the first?
A huge moment at the start of the series, this scene establishes the Holmes-Watson friendship. Serving as our introduction to both characters too, it's where we learn John's backstory and it's when we get our first look at just how brilliant Sherlock really is.
Afghanistan or Iraq?
Watson arrives and Sherlock instantly deduces that he's an army man with family issues.
It's enough to be going on with, don't you think?
Later, John's bemusement turns to amazement when Sherlock explains exactly how he came to those near-perfect conclusions. We can forgive him for that brother-sister slip-up. He's still human after all.
Spot on, and I didn't expect to be right about everything.
Harry's short for Harriet.
Number 2, faking his death. The Reichenbach Fall. For one of the biggest surprises in the entire show, Sherlock jumps to his death at the end of Series 2. Or he seems to, at least. We soon learn that the sleuth is still alive, but how did he do it?
Oh no, you...
Oh, yes.
Oh my god.
I'm not quite.
You died. You jumped off a roof.
No.
Fans had to wait 2 theory-filled years to find out, with the first episode of Season 3 proposing multiple possibilities, including a plan involving a Sherlock mask, Darren Brown, and a bungee cord, and another hinging on a giant crash mat.
I needed to hit the airbag, which I did.
It's all about ambiguity here though, with some fans still unconvinced by Sherlock's version of events. What do you think?
Squash ball under the armpit. Apply enough pressure, and it momentarily cuts off the pulse.
Number 1, the couple in the pub. The Hounds of Baskerville.
Henry's right.
What?
I saw it, too.
It's not often that Sherlock shows his emotions, but here his straight-faced facade slips just for a second, so he starts to question his most valuable asset, his mind. But just because he's scared doesn't mean he's not still brilliant, and he proves this by deconstructing a random couple nearby.
Where should we start? How about them?
Revealing everything from their familial relationship to the breed of the lady's pet dog, he's very clearly still in control, turning simple observations into spectacular details.
She's got a man's wedding ring on a chain around her neck. Clearly her late husband's too big for her finger. She's well dressed, but her jewelry's cheap. She could afford better.
In case we didn't know it by now, nothing phases this guy. Not even a supposedly supernatural killer hound. The solution is always within his grasp.
So you see, I am fine if I could never be better. So just leave me alone.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo UK and subscribe for more great content.